think was the greatest English-speaking philosopher of the 19th century? Many would point to one man, John Stuart Mill. But the story of how he became a towering intellectual figure is as fascinating as it is cautionary. It's a tale of a father's ambition, a child prodigy, and the crushing weight of genius. Our story begins not with John, but with his father, James Mill. James was a prominent Scottish philosopher and economist himself, a leading figure in a movement called utilitarianism. Utilitarianism, in simple terms, is the idea that the best action is the one that maximizes happiness and well-being for the greatest number of people. James Mill, along with his close friend Jeremy Bentham, wanted this idea to change the world. But they knew a movement needed a successor, a brilliant mind to carry the torch into the next generation. James decided he would create that genius from scratch. His son, John Stuart Mill, would be his masterpiece. From the moment John was born in 1806, his life was anything but ordinary. While other children played with toys, John was immersed in a rigorous educational experiment. His father completely isolated him from other children, believing their influence would be a distraction, a corrupting force on the pure, logical mind he was trying to build. James Mill's house was John's entire world. He had no playmates, no school friends, only his father as his tutor and a curriculum that would make a university professor sweat. The intensity of this education is hard to fathom. By the age of 3, John began learning ancient Greek. Imagine a toddler, not learning nursery rhymes, but memorizing Greek vocabulary. By 8 years old, his accomplishments were staggering. He had read Aesop's fables, Xenophon's Anabasis, and all of Herodotus in the original Greek. He wasn't just reading them, he was analyzing them. He also moved on to Latin, studying the great Roman authors, and devoured 6 of Plato's dialogues, complex philosophical texts that many people struggle with in college. And that was just his language arts. He was also an expert in arithmetic, and had a deep understanding of physics and astronomy. His father didn't just lecture him, he employed the Socratic method, relentlessly questioning John, forcing him to articulate his reasoning and defend his conclusions. There were no holidays, no summer breaks. Every day was a relentless pursuit of knowledge, a structured program designed to forge an intellectual giant. James Mill's goal was clear: to create the perfect utilitarian thinker. He taught John that the ultimate purpose in life was to promote the general happiness. Everything, every action, every thought should be dedicated to this single, noble cause. For young John, this wasn't just a philosophy, it was his entire reason for being. He was groomed to be the leader of a movement, the intellectual heir to his father in Bentham. He believed in it with all his heart. He had a clear purpose, a mission to reform the world. As a teenager, John was already a formidable intellectual. He was writing scholarly articles, engaging in debates with seasoned thinkers, and continuing his father's work. He co-founded intellectual societies and became a leading voice among the younger generation of radicals and reformers. On the outside, the experiment was a resounding success. James Mill had done it. He had created his genius. John was sharp, logical, articulate, and wholly dedicated to the cause of utilitarianism. He had the knowledge and the drive to change the world. But inside, something was starting to crack. The breaking point came when John turned 20. One day, he asked himself a simple but devastating question. Suppose, he wrote later, that all your objects in life were realized, that all the changes in institutions and opinions which you were looking forward to could be completely affected at this very instant. Would this be a great joy and happiness to you? And the answer that came back, with a sinking feeling of dread, was no. Suddenly, the foundation of his entire life crumbled. The grand purpose he had been trained for, the mission to bring about the greatest happiness for the greatest number, felt hollow. It brought him no personal joy. He realized he had been trained to analyze and reason, but not to feel. His father had cultivated his intellect but had completely neglected his emotional life. In his quest to build a perfect thinking machine, James Mill had forgotten to nurture a human being. This realization plunged John into a profound depression, what he called a nervous breakdown. The world, which had seemed so full of purpose, now felt bleak and colorless. The books he once loved brought him no pleasure. The philosophical arguments he once championed felt meaningless. He felt like an empty vessel, a well-oiled machine with no soul. For months, he went through the motions of his life in a state of deep melancholy, convinced he would feel this way forever. He had been taught that happiness was the goal of life, yet he felt utterly incapable of experiencing it himself. How do you recover when the very meaning of your life evaporates? For Mill, the path back wasn't through more logic or reason. It came from an unexpected place: poetry. he stumbled upon the romantic poems of William Wordsworth. Wordsworth's descriptions of natural beauty, of simple human emotions, and of finding solace and tranquility opened up a new world for him. It was a world of feeling, of beauty, of subjective experience, everything his education had suppressed. These poems, he wrote, were like medicine for his state of mind. They taught him that happiness isn't just something you pursue as a grand, abstract goal. It's found in the small moments, in the appreciation of beauty, in the quiet cultivation of your inner life. This crisis fundamentally changed John Stuart Mill, both as a person and as a philosopher. He didn't abandon utilitarianism, but he revolutionized it. He moved beyond the simple calculation of pleasure versus pain that his father and Bentham had promoted. He argued that there are higher and lower pleasures. The pleasures of the intellect, of creativity, and of emotion, he contended, are far more valuable than mere physical sensations. His famous quote, "It is better to be a human being dissatisfied than a pig satisfied. Better to be Socrates dissatisfied than a fool satisfied," comes directly from this realization. He understood that a fulfilling life requires more than just logic. It requires a rich emotional and aesthetic life. It requires art, poetry, and love. His personal life also transformed. He developed a deep and enduring partnership with Harriet Taylor, a brilliant thinker in her own right. Their relationship was a meeting of minds and hearts, a profound intellectual and emotional connection that shaped his later work immensely. He credited her with co-authoring many of his most famous books, including On Liberty, his passionate defense of individual freedom and self-expression. He championed women's rights in a time when it was radical to do so, arguing for complete equality in his work, The Subjection of Women. His own experience taught him the danger of suppressing any part of human nature, whether it be the emotions of an individual or the rights of an entire gender. The story of John Stuart Mill is a powerful reminder. It shows us that true genius isn't just about intellectual horsepower, it's about the integration of our whole selves, our reason and our emotion, our public purpose and our private feelings. Mill's journey from a programmed prodigy to a complete human being is what made him not just a great thinker, but a truly wise one. His life teaches us that a well-lived life is one that embraces complexity, values feeling as much as fact, and always makes room for a little poetry. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of history's most interesting minds. See you in the next one.